Members of Congress are becoming increasingly angry at the Trump administration's refusal to release unredacted Epstein files. This comes after Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi sparred with lawmakers over her handling of the Epstein files.
About 3 million Epstein-related documents, videos, photographs, audio recordings, police files related to various Epstein investigations were finally released at the end of January. This followed the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act by Congress late last year over the objections of the Trump administration, which called for the release of any and all files related to the disgraced late financier. Well, it turns out that only half of them were released, 3 of 6 million. And of those 3 million that were released, we know, as we've all sifted through them, they've been heavily redacted. Lots of blacked out sections in them, not though it seems to protect so much the victims. That was done quite sloppily. It's been quite diligent at trying to protect the alleged perpetrators and even just people incidentally caught up with these investigations, including Donald Trump himself. We have the ridiculous situation where photos clearly of Donald Trump have had the face obscured to try and obscure his identity. So Pam Bondi was before Congress last week as members of Congress themselves were given an opportunity to go to the Justice Department, a small, sort of basically described as a broom closet, a small room at the Justice Department with just 4 computer monitors where they could log on and look at what were meant to be the unredacted Epstein files, or at least the 3 of the 6 million. Congress members turned up and they saw that in fact there are still redactions there. There's more there that is in the public domain, that is to be sure, but there is a lot that is still redacted, that not even members of Congress, after passing an enforceable law last year, are being allowed to see. So they are accusing the Trump administration, specifically Pam Bondi, of engaging in an active, illegal cover-up. And we spoke to one of those members of Congress, the Democrat from California, Ted Lieu, who is among those who viewed these semi-redacted documents that we're yet to see. We spoke to him today, and Kath, he is rejecting the suggestion that this cover-up is about protecting, well, some unnamed elites that were in Epstein's circle. He says this is still very much about trying to protect Donald Trump from his crimes. Take a look.
There are numerous documents where there are allegations that Donald Trump committed crimes, including serious crimes. And when you look at all the files, it doesn't show that the Department of Justice did very much follow-up or any follow-up at all. So the Department of Justice needs to release all the files, whether or not they have Donald Trump in them or not, and simply redact the victims, but they need to release all the files.
So, John, President Trump clearly wants this all to go away. You would presume hoping the focus will switch to the stock market. Just how likely is that?
Well, that's certainly what Pam Bondi was saying in Congress this week. Why don't you look at the Dow? It's gone above 50,000 points. There's nothing to see here. But of course, it's impossible to get people who are still so outraged at the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his co-accused, who's still serving a 20-year prison sentence, but is saying, if that sentence is commuted by President Trump, I'll put him and Bill Clinton and some others in the clear. She's hoping for a deal along those lines. But the people, including many Trump supporters in his MAGA base and some Republicans in Congress who've been pushing for transparency, for openness, to tell us what is really there, who were those involved. We know there are over 1,000 victims, Kath, but so far, Jeffrey Epstein was charged, he's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell was charged, she's in prison. What about all these other perpetrators? We know their names are in these files. Let's see, why has the Justice Department not investigated any of these people? That is the problem for Donald Trump. People will not move on, even his own supporters who don't believe that he's in any way implicated. They're saying, well, tell us what is there. Prosecute the perpetrators, otherwise this is a cover-up. You can't get around the fact that the Justice Department, the Attorney General and the President are covering up, maybe for themselves or maybe for their rich and powerful friends.
So then, John, what can happen now? Can Congress force the full release of all the Epstein files, or can this alleged cover-up go on?
under the law they passed last year, they can. It then comes down to whether the Justice Department is going to refuse to follow that law and drag this out in the courts. And we know from recent years, all the court cases involving Donald Trump, you can slow walk the American judicial system for years and years and years. And so this is at a bit of a stalemate. We know that there are congressional midterm elections coming up in November this year. If the Democratic Party, the current opposition, if you will, in the House of Representatives, wins the majority, which they only need to pick up 3 seats in order to do that, then they don't just gain the power to pass legislation, they gain the power to subpoena people to appear before congressional committees, such as that very feisty one we saw with Pam Bondi last week. So they can increase the pressure on the Trump administration. They can also threaten to impeach Pam Bondi and Donald Trump, which is almost certain at this stage if they don't deliver what Congress has passed a law to tell them to do, which is those 6 million unredacted files. The only redactions that are permissible is if there are ongoing investigations. And the Justice Department has said they're not really ongoing investigations because we're not prosecuting any of these men. So this is now at a crucial juncture, Kath.